Well, it's another holiday and nobody's here except me and Neil. But that's all right. We're going to have a beautiful Mother's Day service. Thank you for being with us. Let's go get started.
Welcome to the Village. We are so excited that you're here, and we hope traffic wasn't too bad. My name is Matt, and I'm here with Alejandro, Melanie, and Caleb. But we want to know who you are. So in the chat feature, go ahead and tell us who you are and where you're calling from. If you happen to be next to someone, give them a hug. And if you don't, give somebody a virtual hug. Either way, we're excited to worship with you this morning. So join us as we start with, "In the morning as I rise, give me Jesus."
In the morning, when I rise, in the morning, when I rise, in the morning, when I rise, give me Jesus.
Give me Jesus.
Give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Give me Jesus.
And when I am alone, oh, and when I am alone, oh, when I am alone, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus.
You can have all this world.
Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus.
You can have all this world. You can have all this world. You can have all this world. Give me Jesus.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Village Sunday service. We are honored that you are here. And this is our 7th week, and we're getting kind of in a rhythm, and I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate those of you that will let us know that you're here. That's always a cool thing. And then we've had some people who are acting as if they are ushers, online ushers, and I like that because they'll say hello to you and welcome you to the service, and so it's all very wonderful, and I appreciate you doing that. It also is Mother's Day, second Sunday of May, and Mother's Day has always been a little problematic for me as a pastor, because obviously there are people that want to celebrate the day and we honor them, but there are also some that this day is kind of sad and we want to honor them as well. Meg McKeever is one of Jane and my best friends. She is a highly respected OBGYN in Seattle, and she also is a part of us at the Village. She is a part of us, and she is a part of Everybody Church, and for that I'm very grateful. She wrote this, what I'm going to read, just a few years ago, and I think it bears repeating today. So listen to this. I see you, those of you who are hurting today, those of you who have desperately wanted to mother but haven't been able to do so, you who were hoping, praying, and waiting in vain for the right partner who never appeared, those of you who have spent months and years and decades charting and trying and cursing your beautiful, strong, and hardworking bodies for not being able to do this one thing. I see you. Those of you who have chosen not to mother babies of your own, you have chosen instead to tend fiercely to your fur babies and your gardens and your friendships and your passions. The aunties who love deeply and wildly of your people, I see you. Those of you who do have children or mothers, but whose relationships with these people are irretrievably broken. Those of you who have tried and tried and tried to find your way back, but who cannot safely reach across that divide. Those who today are mourning a relationship which might have been, but really truly just isn't. I see you. And you warriors, those of you who have lost your beloved mothers and babies far too soon, those of you tending to broken and weary hearts today, your eyes wet with tears. You who are grieving a loss that may be recent or may be very familiar by now, I see you. I see you, and I love you. Happy second Sunday in May. Happy beautiful spring Sunday. Happy love in all its forms day. Meg, I could not have said that any better if I tried 100 years. I could have not said it better, so thank you very much. And to those of you who resonate with that, we see you and we love you. Another thing I wanted to say just at the beginning of the service has to do with the Ahmaud Arbery case that many of you have followed. A couple of months ago, an African-American man running as he did every day, and then the horrible altercation and being shot, and then nothing happening to those two men who murdered him. I saw many of you write about that case this week when nothing was being done. Nothing was being done. The district attorney was not moving forward at all, but you wrote. In fact, hundreds of thousands of people wrote all around the country. And finally, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation got involved, and finally arrests were made. And it still hasn't come to trial, and we don't know how this is going to all work out. But can I tell you, I was really proud to see you, because some people think there's Christianity, the gospel, Jesus, and then there's political situations or current events, and we need to keep those things separate. Can I tell you something? You can't keep those things separate. If you believe this, it has to affect this. And when you see people who are being hurt, who aren't treated fairly, who are marginalized, and you believe this, you have to fight for this. And you've done that. And I just want to say that's wonderful, and I appreciate that so very much. That's why we don't apologize for saying Black Lives Matter, because we believe our brothers and sisters who are African American, they have not always been treated fairly. And I've never, not that I've gone out running much, but I can tell you I've never worried that somebody was going to shoot me when I was out running. And African Americans now have one more thing they have to think about, because in this country, there are times that they are not treated fairly, and they have been marginalized. And so I just wanted to say that to you. Now is the time of the service when we receive our gifts, offerings, tithes, however you want to say it. And I want to let you know that you have really helped us through this time. When this started 7 weeks ago, we really didn't know how this was going to work, if we were going to be able to keep our heads above water. We had no idea. Of course, it was very helpful when the person we're buying the building from said, you can hold the rent for a few months, and so we're not having to pay him till July. That's been wonderful. But also, those of you who financially are making it, you have carried on as if it's just normal times, and you have either given electronically or you have mailed in a check, and I just want to say thank you. Many of you have said that you see great value in what we are doing here, and I want you to know it couldn't be done without you. So thank you very much. Again, to those of you who are struggling financially during this time, please let us know if we can help you. We would love to help you, and do not feel like you have to worry about us, because right now we're worrying about you, okay? We really care, and we really want to help you. But for those who can help, please do. There are 3 ways that you can do this. You can text the word GIVE to the number that's on the screen, 404-998-8979, 404-998-8979, or you can go to our website, thevillageatlanta.com/give, thevillageatlanta.com/give, It'll walk you through the process. It's easy peasy. And if you want to say, hey, I want to do this one time and just let this be a monthly gift that continues to happen, or let this be a weekly gift that continues to happen, you can do that. And then you don't have to ever do that again. It'll just keep doing it until you decide that you want to stop it. Third way is you can send a check to the Village Church, and the address is on the screen. So make sure you get that down. And if you'd like to send a check, and many people do prefer that way, then you certainly can. Would you pray with me? God, thank you for this day. Thank you for every good gift that we have recognized in this life. Thank you for our moms. Thank you for people in our midst who are moms. And then thank you for all those people that Meg wrote about who maybe have never been moms, but who are precious and who matter. And maybe this day is painful to them, and we just pray comfort for each one of them. Thank you for our church. Thank you for people being willing to take a stand for the marginalized, those who are being hurt and abused all around us. Thank you for so many good things that we get to experience. God, I know this is crazy times we are in. And I just pray those people who are at the end of the rope, who are just really struggling the most, I just pray that something will happen, some breakthrough for them, or maybe they'll just let us know, so maybe we can see if there's a way we can help. I thank you for this day. I thank you for what's going to take place this day. We love you, and we pray this in Christ's name. Amen. Well, good morning, everybody. As you can see, I am not standing in the normal place at the Village Church because we had a technical glitch this morning. And we had this great, grandiose plan that we were so excited about. We had 10 women that we were interviewing as a part of our service, and it was going to be amazing. And then we had the glitch. And so I was kind of frantic, and Neil said, think about it. It's Mother's Day. We sometimes talk about Mary in the Bible, and she had a plan, and then the plan got changed, and she was able to rock with it. And it's like, God, I hate when he makes so much sense, because it's like, I don't want to rock with it. I want to have a nervous breakdown, but we're not going to do that. We are just going to take a deep breath. And we are now in the den of my house. This is my chair. If you came almost any day, I would be sitting in this chair reading, and I have my piano over here to the left, and Jane, you can't see this, but Jane sits right over there. And I'm going to just talk to you a little bit this morning. First thing I want to do is I want to just say a quick word. Before I say that, this whole idea of having to change gears, who's done that better than moms? Honestly, who has done that better than moms? They're rocking along. Many of them have full-time jobs. They get up, take the kids to daycare, go to their job, come home. That's their life. They kind of rocking it. And then suddenly COVID-19 hits, and it's like, we don't do any of those things anymore. I'm now cooking 3 meals a day for the children. I'm trying to run the school thing. Dad is there. If there's a dad or another mom in the house, we're trying to figure it out, but it is just crazy. So I know you're not giving me any sympathy. You've had to rock it in a big way, and I acknowledge that. Let me say a word about moms. I have, and the whole talk's not going to be about moms. It's going to be about women, but I do want to say this first. I have had the privilege of seeing some excellent moms up close. My mom is an excellent mom. I look back at the core things she taught me growing up, and not just growing up, in my whole life. And she is an excellent mom. My sister is a wonderful mom. The mother of my sons, I've gone through a divorce, you know that. The mother of my children, she is a fantastic mom. Sometimes people that just know me say, Ray, you were fantastic raising those 2 sons of yours who are now 38 and 35, but boy, they are outstanding men. And it's like, their mom was really great. And we divorced when the kids were very young, and she was a fabulous, and still is a fabulous influence in their life. And she never trashed me to the kids, and I never trashed her to the kids. So just a word to any of you out there who maybe your relationship is not working, however, whatever, there's some real wisdom there, and she understood that, and so I'm forever grateful for the job that she did. My wife, Jane, as you can imagine, is a wonderful mom. My mother-in-law, Joyce, is a great mom. I have a stepdaughter, Jenna, who's a great mom, and I have daughter-in-laws, Jen Waters in California and Rachel Waters here in Atlanta. They're great moms. Plus, I've been able to watch some great moms at the Village Church over the last 27 years. I just want to tip my hat to you, and I want to say Happy Mother's Day to each one of you, and thank you for the great job you are doing. Now, I also know there are some who are feeling really horrible right now because you feel like you had your moment and you didn't do maybe the best that you look back now and say you wish you had done, and you're beating yourself up. And I just want to tell you, and you listen to me, stop that. That's not going to help anything. That's not going to change anything. Stop it. One of my favorite quotes is Maya Angelou, who said, "I did the best I knew how to do, and when I knew better, I did better." And so you have evolved to a higher place now. You are living a better life now. And you've got to be able to let go of the mistakes of your past. If you need to ask for forgiveness, ask for forgiveness. But you have to walk into your new life without beating yourself up over your previous life. So I hope you understand that. All right, that's the Mother's Day part. Now I want to talk to women. And guys, I know some of you are thinking, okay, I'm going fishing. This is not for me. Don't do that, because if we're going to be serious about following Jesus, we need to honor women the way Jesus honored women. We need to understand how precious and amazing and powerful and strong in every way women are. And so you stay with me. This is going to be 15 minutes talking about women, and you need to suck it up and you need to listen, and then you need to go about treating women the way Jesus treated women, okay? Just a couple of thoughts first about kind of what we see in the world concerning women. It seems on the world stage, women are taking a top seat, and for that I am very, very grateful, because they have been relegated to the back for so long. Just in politics, the high-profile leaders of countries around the world, it just seems more and more it's female. Angela Merkel, probably getting the highest marks in the world for the way Germany has responded to COVID-19. Well, little wonder, do you know she has a doctor's degree in physics, in quantum chemistry, by the way. I don't even know what that means, but she got that in 1986. She was a research scientist before she entered the political world. And so little wonder she is handling this in an excellent way. Another woman who is getting high marks is New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Arden. If you read anything about people that are doing it well, New Zealand has been at the top of the list, and they attribute it to this incredible woman who is leading. Or in the Baltic area, Finland's Prime Minister, Sanna Marin. She too is getting high marks compared to Sweden, which is right next door, and not trying to do a gender war, but the leader of Sweden is a man, and they have made all these mistakes, and it seems like Finland and the leader, who's a woman, seems to be doing it all right. Also, Iceland's Prime Minister, Katrin Jakobsdottir, she is killing it. And so that's been a really good thing. It's like it's almost, we're entering an age where we are seeing women finally being recognized for the leaders that they are, and that's a really good thing. We have 3 females who sit on the Supreme Court. We have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we have Elena Kagan, and we have Sonia Sotomayor, and they are fantastic Supreme Court justices. And, I remember when I was first beginning to pastor, there were none on the Supreme Court. So we've come a long way. In business, Fortune 500 companies, 33 women sit as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. That's good. But we know it's not that way everywhere. We can easily point out parts of the world, the Middle East comes to mind, where women are treated as second-class citizens. And I don't want to deny that. We understand that's true. But I also want us to know how slow we have been in this whole recognizing the brilliance of women. Slaves, in 1863, they were emancipated, but then in 1865, with the 13th Amendment, they were set free. So it was still another 60 years before women were given, 55 years before women were even given the right to vote. That happened August 18th, 1920, with the passing of the 19th Amendment. Can you believe that? It's just been 100 years ago that women were even thought smart enough to vote. And then, of course, in fundamentalist Christianity, women are still held back. And so I just want to mention that. There's a verse in 1 Timothy where Paul writes to Timothy and says, I don't permit women to teach or to assume authority over a man. And I would look at that and I would say, well, that was just a cultural issue. That certainly doesn't trump all the beautiful things God says about women and how capable they are. I'm not going to let that become anything that's going to dictate whether a woman can lead or teach, because they certainly have gifts and they certainly have proved themselves capable. But in many places, that's the way it is. Women are not allowed to teach or preach or have any kind of authority in church. I grew up Southern Baptist, and we took up an offering every year. It's a big Southern Baptist thing for a missionary named Lottie Moon, who was very famous in Southern Baptist circles. She'd been a missionary in China. But when she would come to the United States to speak, she was not allowed to teach. She had to give her testimony, because if she was a teacher, then it would break that Bible verse in 1 Timothy, which just seems absurd. When she was in China, she was doing all the things that a preacher does, everything. She was baptizing, she was teaching, she was preaching, she was establishing churches. But then when she came here, we said, we won't allow that to happen. I have a friend named Jennifer, you know her too, Jennifer Mayo. She spoke at the Village Church this past year. She was a student at Dallas Theological Seminary. And she said this was what it was like on the day that a woman was invited to speak at chapel. She says, I remember this was the first time a woman spoke at Dallas Theological Seminary. She said, I don't recall the exact year, but it was in the mid-90s, and she says, I was there. That morning at our 10 a.m. chapel service, the tension hung in the air like a humid Texas summer day. The students were divided and on edge along with the faculty. Many stipulations and constraints were placed on the woman prior to speaking. She could not directly teach from the Bible. Think about this. She could not directly teach from the Bible or attempt to explain any theology. We could not call whatever she was doing preaching. That would not work. When she stood to speak, her voice quivered, and I could see that her eyes were moist. She ended up speaking about how the death of her husband, a prominent Dallas physician, impacted her and her family. However, there was another death in chapel that day. Jennifer says it was the death of dignity. She writes, I sat in silence along with my fellow classmates, and I witnessed the utter humiliation of a human being that bears the divine image of God. Of course, we were fine with it because we thought we were simply following the scriptures. I did marriage retreats several years ago, and it was crazy. I'd poured my heart out for 2 days about things that I think, as someone who's failed along the way, things that I think are helpful in relationship. And one guy came up to me afterward and he said, you never, ever talked about who is in charge. And this guy wanted me to say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Women, the man is in charge and you are subordinate to the man. And I thought, how could he have missed for 2 days me talking about mutual submission to each other and serving each other and what love is really about and how we put each other up on pedestals. And when we do that, we have a beautiful relationship. I could not believe that he could not get that through his brain. A couple of years ago, Jane and I went to a wedding. And in this wedding, the bride, by the minister, was reminded over and over and over again about how she should live her life under the man's authority. And Jane and I were so uncomfortable, and we got out of there as soon as it was over because it just was so not how we understand God, how we understand the Scripture, how we understand what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Women, I want to say just 3 or 4 little thoughts to you to help you if you're having any struggle with an idea that you are less than in any way a man, because you are not. The first thing I want to say to you is this: women, you are powerful, period. You are powerful, period. Genesis chapters 1 through 11, I understand Genesis 1 through 11 as a powerful, beautiful poem in sacred literature. And I think it is beautiful, and I think understood properly, it gives us insights that are helpful. I think we can meditate on it and we get insights that can move us closer to God. But I think when we try to understand it literally in every way, I think it can foul us up. I don't think it was ever intended to be understood literally. Some of my friends understand it that way. I'm not going to break fellowship with anybody because they understand it that way. But for me, that makes no sense at all. It is a poem. So one of the things that is interesting to me is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, in this creation poem, God says it's not good for man to be alone. And that's very powerful. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, this is very cool. God's made all the animals. He's made everything. He's placed man in the garden. And then he says, it's not good for man to be alone. And this is what the verse says: I will make a helper suitable for him. When I was growing up, we had church with King James Bible. That's what we used. 1611, authorized King James Version. And that translation says, God speaking, I will make a help meet for him. I will make a help meet for him. And if you're like me, when I heard that, it sounded like, oh, this is cool. God is making a little helper suitable for her man. The man is here. God is making this little helper who's going to be able to walk along kind of beside him, but behind him a little bit, and she's going to be able to help him. I created man in my image, God is saying, but now I'm making him a little helper, a little assistant, a kind of a person who will go along behind him to clean up. You say, Ray, did you really understand it that way? Yeah, I think that's the way I understood it. But I began looking at that Hebrew word for helper. It's the Hebrew word pronounced ezer, and it doesn't mean the little assistant that marches along behind to make sure that they pick my socks up when I leave them on the floor. That's not what it means at all. It actually means a strong helper in the way that God is a strong helper, or it can be translated a strong power the way God is a strong power. Do you get that? Do you understand this is not the Bible saying, woman, you are made less than. This is the Bible in sacred literature in this poem letting us know, if we read deeply into it, woman, you are made in the image of God. The Bible says that clear. And not only that, you are this strong, equal helper to this man. You are a strong power, just like God is a strong power. Do you understand that? I don't want you to get arrogant with it, but I want you to know that's you. That's how you should understand yourself. It is an important way to distinguish who you are. An image bearer of God. Yes, you are an image bearer of God. That's why, maybe in my den, I can get off script just a little bit, which I want to do. We sometimes refer to God in the feminine. And I know some people bristle, but why? Do you think God is a male? Do you think God has the DNA characteristics of a man? Or do you not think that we talked about God in masculine pronouns because we were ancient people and that's what we did? Men had all of the power. Women didn't have any power. So if we're talking about a deity, we would ascribe to deity all masculine things, except in the Bible, there are many references to God using female imagery. A hen that pulls her chicks under her wings, that's how God is described. The Spirit with a feminine pronoun is used to describe God. So Women, you are made in the image of God, and you are a strong, strong power. Got it? Second thing I want to say to all women today is this. You are powerful, powerful, powerful in your influence. You literally can move things in ways that I've never seen anybody else able to move things. There's an interesting text, again, in Paul writing to Timothy, where Paul is saying to Timothy, I have known you since you were a young follower of Jesus. And Paul says, I know where you got it from. You got that desire to follow Jesus from your mom and your grandma. Let me read it. It's 2 Timothy 1:5. Paul says, I've been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice. So Paul says, I see it. Notice he doesn't say, boy, your dad was a strong follower of Jesus. I see you're now a strong follower of Jesus. That's not what he says. Paul says, Timothy, your mom and grandma, they rock. They were strong. That's where you got it from. My mom's influence in my life is unbelievable. Do you know, there was a time, so I'd been a pastor, then I went through a divorce, and then I thought I would never be a pastor again, couldn't be a pastor, and I was making all kind of other decisions about where I needed to go, what I needed to do. And it was my mother. I was sitting at her house having dinner, and she said, Ray, I don't think you're going to ever be happy until you do the thing that I have seen planted in you by God, until you do that ministry life that God has called you to. That's what she said. And it's like those words seared in me, and I thought, I don't know how this is supposed to work, but maybe my mom knows something. And I'm so glad, because I know I was put on this earth to lead a church that helps people understand that we build a bigger table for all people. And had it not been my mom saying that to me, nothing wrong with selling insurance or selling mutual funds, but that might have been where I ended up, and there would have never been a village church. My mom has great influence. My wife has great influence. She has influenced me in ways that I can't even explain. Women, don't ever take that lightly. You have an influence that's powerful. William Ross Wallace said this, and it's about moms, but it's so true. The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. And that's big, and that's you. Another thing I want to say is this: women are powerful in their giftings. By that I mean, whatever you have in you that you do well, you do it so well. And you should never be ashamed of the gifts and talents that are inside of you. Do you know, one of my top 3 preachers in all the world to listen to is a woman. Now, I wouldn't have even been able to say that 30 years ago. I didn't even know that was possible 30 years ago. But Barbara Brown Taylor is considered by many to be the greatest living preacher in America. And guess what? She's a female. She has a gift in her that she has developed, certainly, but she is able to stand up in front of men and women, the powerful and the not powerful, and she is able to present messages about God that are stirring and unbelievable and cause people's lives to change. And, oh, by the way, she's a female. When I was growing up and used the King James Version of the Bible, there's a verse in Romans chapter 16 where Paul commends a person by the name of Phoebe. And he says Phoebe is our sister. She's a servant of the church at Cenchrea. Servant of the church at Cenchrea. Well, I didn't realize this until I went to seminary. That word for servant is the same word that's translated everywhere else as deacon. But see, I grew up in a church where the deacons were kind of a second-tier leadership group. You had the pastor, obviously a man. Then you had a board of deacons that were kind of under the pastor, but who ruled the church. And you certainly couldn't have a woman be a deacon. But guess what? A true understanding of the text was that in this situation, where there obviously wasn't cultural circumstances like Paul in the earlier letter we mentioned where he said women shouldn't teach, in this circumstance, Phoebe was recognized as a deacon of the church. My point is, if you have giftings, whatever they are, use them. And if it's leadership, then lead. And those of us who maybe have come to a point of enlightenment on this subject, we will follow. We will follow. Don't ever hide your gifts under a barrel or bush. Make sure that you bring them to the light. If you have gifts to teach, teach. Neil and I were talking the other day. There used to be an idea that men had this certain predisposition to certain things that they were way better at than women. And now, pretty much, there is an understanding that no, math, women can be just as good as men in math. Engineering, no, given the opportunity, women, they're rock stars. They can do everything. So if you have a gift or a leaning in any way, I want you to know, use it, use it, use it. One final thought. Women are powerful in their love. We talk about love all the time at the Village because it really is about love. It really is about love. I could give two hoots to you knowing all the answers to the trivia questions in the Bible. That doesn't matter. You know what matters? Love. And women can be powerful in their love. John Steinbeck in East of Eden, he said this, I like it. My father said she was a strong woman, and I believe a strong woman may be stronger than a man, particularly if she happens to have love in her heart. I guess a loving woman is almost indestructible. Mr. Steinbeck nailed it there. I believe with love in your heart, you are almost indestructible. When I read the Bible, I see so many examples of women who loved and who made a difference. Did you know it was women who bankrolled the ministry of Jesus? So you understand what I'm saying? Jesus is an itinerant preacher. He's not working anywhere. He's not working at the magic market to make a few bucks along the way. He's teaching, and somebody is taking care of the expenses. Did you know that it was women? I want to read it to you. This is from Luke chapter 8. I don't make this stuff up. Luke chapter 8 says this, the 12 were with him, as well as some women who had been cured of all kind of infirmities. Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, Joanna, the wife of Herod's steward Chuza, and Susanna, and many others who provided for them out of their resources. These women, they're the only ones, it's pointed out, these women were the ones who provided for the ministry of Jesus out of their resources. Well, I'm not surprised. Do you know in the history of the Village Church, it has been women far more than men who have supported what we try to do in this place. Women far more than men. When we first started, there were 2 single moms who, we don't talk about this now, we don't understand it like this now, but back in the day, we talked about tithe, 10%, give 10% to the church, give 10% to the church. And these 2 women took that very seriously, and they were single moms raising kids that were teenagers. And every week, they were the ones who gave to keep our church above water, to keep us afloat. When we didn't have anybody supporting us, these 2 single moms, they were the ones who did it. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised when you look at the Bible, you see that it was women who were the last at the cross, and they were the first at the tomb. It was women, because there was something powerful about their love. I just wanted to say to all of you women, you are not second class. I want you to know at churches like the Village and churches like Everybody Church, you are seen as equal in every way. We believe you are just as capable of leadership. We believe you are just as capable of teaching. We believe you are just as capable of all things as men. And I don't want you to ever forget it. You are Ezer. You are powerful. You are a strong power. That's who you are. And you have great influence. And you have marvelous gifts. And you can lead out of your love. And so I just wanted to say, ladies, we could not do it at all without you, nor would we want to. You are that important in every way. I love you all. Guys, I want to say to you too, I love all of y'all now. And thank you for listening. And we're going to try to put this out, this interview that we are planning to put out with 10 moms. So I hope you're able to watch that. And I didn't mention this, but I know that we've had a couple of people in our church this past year who have lost their moms. And I was thinking about Heather, and I just wanted to say to you, Heather, I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier in this talk, but I know on a day like today, it makes it kind of tough for you. And there's others, and I just want you to know we feel your pain, we hurt with you, and we love you like crazy. Thank you for being with us today, and let your friends know we can't wait. We'll be back same time, same place next week. We love you very much. Have a beautiful day.